Good morning, everyone. Just hanging out today. Give it a few minutes here and see who is going to join us. Hope you got a cup of coffee. Maybe enjoyed something to light up this morning. I've really been enjoying using this all-around leaf design Zippo again. I'd had it stored away in that rotating display case ever since I'd gotten the case. I got it out a few weeks ago. Well, actually, yeah, about 3 or 4 weeks ago when Sean asked me to make the video about my whole collection. This is a really cool lighter. Definitely one of my favorites. Even if it has taken a little bit of damage over the years. If you are in the chat, say hello, give me a wave, let me know the microphone is working. Shouldn't be having any problems. Haven't had any problems with the microphone since I got the new one. But just to make sure. The design of this etching or whatever process that they went through to get the cannabis leaves on there doesn't connect. Not that that really matters, it's just I just noticed that. For some reason I thought it did. I don't know what the reason might be for that. Maybe the paint wouldn't hold on to the case like it needed to going around that curve and then etched off in so many places. Really attractive lighter though. I like the green with the gold tone of the brass background, but I think it would have been interesting in some other colors as well. That's a good green though for a cannabis lighter. A good shade of green. Probably my favorite of all the lighters that I've actually, well, I don't know, it's hard to say that. I was going to say of all the lighters that I've owned and used, but I used that Jack Slim for a long time, and that's one of my favorites too, and has more sentimental value. This is just sort of this doesn't have any sentimental value, just personal interest to me personally. We have finally reached springtime here in Oklahoma City. And I think you could hear it when I first came on, but it appears as though he's gone away. But we got these leaf blowers down here. There's no telling how much money is spent by these complexes or condominium owners blowing away and bagging up leaves. So I remember that being an issue last week, or maybe it was one of the few previous weeks. Somebody asked what that noise was in the background. So if you hear it again, that's all it'll be, is the typical leaf herders out there rounding up all the leaves. You wouldn't think there'd be that many leaves out there this time of year. Trees are putting on new leaves. I don't know. They stay busy, that's for sure. Put away the 41 replica last week, so that is not fueled up. I've still been using the vintage look. What year was that? 21? 21 vintage look without the corner slashes. And it seemed like the last couple weeks, the petrol lighters that I fueled up here on Tuesday made it a whole week. But this one I had to top off a little bit again a couple of days ago. Maybe I didn't get it quite full enough when I fueled it to begin with. This one ran out of fuel several weeks ago. I don't even remember the last time I fueled it up, to be honest. I really like this lighter a lot. This one doesn't really mean anything to me interest-wise as far as the theme on the lighter, or sentimental-wise. Just coolness of lighter. Just my adoration for aesthetically appealing little fire-making machines. And it looks like maybe I didn't quite get enough fuel in there. This is an insert that I believe it had a solid foam fuel cell in it, but I can't remember for sure. It's got a copper braided wick, so that wick was replaced when I did it. The wicks that came in these were kind of limp, similar to the Zippo wicks from that same period, I think, from the 50s and 60s. But the Park wicks were probably not quite as substantial, quite as structurally sound. Either that, or for one reason or another, deteriorated worse over time. And maybe that's just my perception, but I pulled a lot of wicks out of Park lighters, and they don't typically look like they're all that suitable to hold a flame. Very rickety looking. So you can see how much fuel that held. I fueled it for a solid at least 6 seconds. And it wouldn't light, so then I gave it a couple more, and that's still acting like the vapor is taking a little bit of time to accumulate there in the chimney area, sufficient to ignite from the spark. Not sure if that was my breath that put that out. Maybe. We'll let it set for a minute. See, that should accumulate some vapor up there. So here we have the older type Park insert. And that newer one fits, well, maybe a little tall. But will the old one work in the newer case? Yeah. Actually looks like it probably works a little bit better in the newer case than the newer one would in the old case. I think they were a little bit shorter. Yeah, definitely shorter. From bottom to top. I don't know, maybe an 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more. So anyway, that is a Park Sherman, Springfield, Illinois insert. This is also Park Sherman, Springfield, Illinois. Now this is, I think, probably from the 40s, where this one is probably from the 50s. Anything that is marked Murfreesboro is from 1960 or later, because that's when they moved. I read an article about that the other day. It was talking about, I can't remember how many employees. It seemed like there were several hundred employees when they moved, and only a handful moved with the company. Like maybe 19. Seemed like maybe it was in the teens. I don't remember which of the sites that I saw that on, but it was an interesting article. There aren't articles for all of those different defunct companies on Wikipedia. Sometimes there are, and that's nice, but then other times you got to go find information from another source, if there's any information at all. So I was talking about this not necessarily being a theme that was of personal interest to me nor sentimental to me, but it is for the 50th anniversary from 1910 to 1960. Now that's interesting too, because apparently, like I said, Park moved in 1960. So this lighter was probably made actually in maybe just before that, maybe 1959. A lot of times they would have been made a year in advance in preparation. Or maybe there was some crossover. I'm not saying everything from 1960 was Murfreesboro. I don't know what year. But anyway, this would have been one of the later lighters to come out of Springfield, Illinois, if indeed this is the original insert. And of course, it may have been that they reused or kept using the Springfield marked inserts that they already had produced in some Murfreesboro lighters there at the beginning after the move as well. I know a lot of people just see them as some cheap Zippo knockoff, but the Park lighters are some of my favorites. And one of the first brands, may have been the very first brand I ever wrote about on the website. I had a, was it Checkers Scotch whiskey, I believe. It was brand new in the box, still had the guarantee paperwork and all that, and I didn't know anything about Park lighters, never heard of them. I was really keen on Zippo at the time, just because that was really all I knew. And that Park had a plastic flint spring screw, which I thought was interesting and incredibly cheap, and it still is pretty cheap. And they're a nuisance because they break. They seize in there, and I've had many of them break, and I haven't really figured out a simple way to get those screws out. Get them out and then get the thread cleaned out as well. So anyway, I wrote about that lighter, and it might be interesting to go back and read it, because as much as I talk about and as familiar as I am with Park today, I was equally unfamiliar with them at that time. As far as I can remember, I haven't talked to anybody this week. Didn't talk to Sean in the comments. Did have an interaction with Azriel in the comments of a video at one point, but I think that was last week. I did get over to TikTok and watch several of Eastwa Dune Flam's latest videos. Very good. He had one that was showing you manual type lighters compared to semi-automatics compared to automatics. That was a really cool one. Another one that showed several different ones that had the Dunhill pipe lighter in it. That's a really cool lighter that I would like to own at some point, and I'm certain I could put it to good use. But they are not all that readily available when you look on YouTube or eBay. And not only that, but they're pretty expensive. You know, you can get into a regular Dunhill, say single wheel lift arm lighter for a little over $100 with a chrome plated version of it. But those pipe lighters with the telescoping wick, last several I've seen went considerably higher than that, like at least the $250, $300 range. So anyway, I don't know when I'll get a chance to own one, but that's definitely on my list. It's definitely one of the things I'm looking for, and which I would be glad to put to use, is a Dunhill pipe lighter. We also haven't heard from our friend Naphtha in Tulsa in a few weeks. So Naphtha, if you're out there, make sure you say hello. I noticed that J-Row Lights did a live stream one night last week. I can't remember what night that was. And I think he had Bill Calkins on there with him. Which I'm sure that would have been fun to watch. I was unavailable at the time, and when I went back and hit the link later, it had already been taken down. So I'm not sure. I wish somebody would tell me. I don't think that J-Row has any of his live streams that he keeps up, archived, whatever you want to call it. And ZF77, last time I looked, he had started archiving his rather than erasing them. But for a good while there, he was deleting his as well. I would be curious to know why people tend to delete the live stream. I leave it up just so that whoever missed the conversation can go and see what was going on later. And normally we would have had several folks join the conversation by now. It's making me a little bit uneasy that we're 24 minutes in and nobody has chatted at me. I unplugged the microphone and plugged it back in, so I don't think that's the issue. I think that we're live. I think the audio is up. But that's another reason for me to leave it up. Let you guys know that when you're not here, you are missed. Like I said, I talked to several of you guys throughout the week in different formats, whether it be Facebook lighter groups, Messenger, comment section in YouTube videos, the comments underneath Facebook group posts, the DependableFlame.com group, the DependableFlame.com page, and then all those various other pages, which I don't. I tend to just like over on most of those. I don't make a lot of comments in the Facebook lighter groups, other than my own. Anyway, your participation there and here is definitely missed when you're not there. So. Fueled up the Cygnus a few weeks ago. And I can't remember now the last time. Seems like it lasted about 3 months. Last time we fueled it up. Not bad. Pretty good result for me. I'm happy with that. And those regular Cygnus pocket lighters, they seem to evaporate their fuel very quickly. They just don't hold very much, first of all. And then I guess that snuffer just doesn't really do much to... I got a tight close on them too, but no seal. But all the Cygnus that I have that I use, as a matter of fact, I think every one that I have in my collection has the fuel gasket or O-ring on it. Now that I think about it, I think all the pocket lighters actually have gaskets, where this table lighter has a rather thick O-ring that isn't exactly fitted. I don't know if it's got worn a little bit bigger with age, but you can easily, if you over tighten the fill screw, then you can get that O-ring to gap on you, or gape, whatever the proper word would be. So you don't want to over tighten it. Might have a tendency to leak fuel that way. So I just tighten it up. You can see it looks like it's riding way over to that one side, or at least wants to. Anyway, I just tighten it up to just where you can feel it meet. Like so. What's up, Shaggy Rifleman? Glad that you have joined us. How are things going for you today? Don't have any projects planned or anything like that. Was just hanging out. Fueled up a couple of these lighters. And I've never had so much trouble with this. It's amazing how much fuel that organic cotton will hold up in there. Doesn't even really feel wet. And that definitely got it full that time. Oh man. Yeah, I got these people around the apartment here, down on the ground floor, that are blowing around leaves. You can definitely tell that people are worried about their landscaping and getting the flower beds in order and all that. I don't have a yard to mow. I'm very thankful for that. Yeah, we haven't had a ton of rain around here lately. As a matter of fact, they showed a graphic. There's a line cutting right across the middle of the state of Oklahoma diagonally from northeast to southwest. And the southeast portion of that has had tons of rain. And I think it was the northwest side of that line was, I think it had less than an inch of rain all year here in Oklahoma. Oh yeah. Yeah, they were talking on the news last week about how there are, or how they think that Tornado Alley has kind of shifted. It's now more in the area of Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana, rather than Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. It's interesting. And I hear what you're saying. I've been in situations where I didn't mind mowing either. But I've been in a lot more situations where I had to mow and did mind. I see some of these yards around, especially over by my place in Mesta Park. There are these built up yards that, I mean, some of them are practically, I mean, they're over 45-degree angles they'd have to be mowing on. It's kind of, but man, there's not a, people over there in that neighborhood, they don't let their yards go for sure. Oh, that's cool. It's always fun. I've only done it one time, but I really enjoyed the experience. I sent in a 1965. See if I can find that. As a matter of fact, well, I'll have to go in the other room here in a second. I sent in a 1965 that needed the hinge repaired. I think the lid had come off. And then I sent in a early 80s, 1980, I think it was, loss-proof Navy lighter. I think it was a Navy lighter. I can't remember now. It may have been an Air Force ship. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. I think it was the USS Camden that had a loss-proof loop on it, and they replaced not only the loss-proof loop, the hinge, and it was tight. And I don't think they had to reattach the hinge. They didn't have to re-weld it. They just put the pin back in there, the loss-proof loop, put that back in there the way it needed to be. And also replaced the lanyard with a brand new lanyard. So really cool. I'd had those two Zippos, that loss-proof Camden, USS Camden, and then that Carrier Airwing 7 lighter. I'd had those on the live stream a few times lately and had listed them for sale, or was about to list them for sale, and had mentioned that. And before I could list the USS Camden lighter for sale, I got an email from a guy who had been stationed on that ship around that same time. And he didn't give me any ideas to the engravings. It's not like he knew the person that had, I think it was, had the name Karen engraved on the front and then happy birthday on the back, maybe. I can't remember. It's not like he gave me any more insight to that, but just his presence on the ship for a period of time made me feel like I needed to go ahead and just give that lighter to him. So I went ahead and mailed it to him. And but I did sell the other one, the Carrier Airwing 7 lighter, last week. So always fun to have those old Zippos. And you know, there's definitely some what's the word, some detraction, some loss of value, I think, with a repair. But I would prefer, and I think most Zippo collectors too would prefer the repair to be done by Zippo than some other way. That's just my opinion. I don't know if there's plenty of people out there that do repairs that Zippo doesn't do, so that's a whole other thing. You know, replacing a cam spring where Zippo is just going to replace the insert. I can understand making that repair if you want to keep the original insert and all that. But as far as hinges and stuff like that, I'd much rather see that be done by Zippo than somebody else. Yeah, and that'll create some interesting looking lighters sometimes. Because I think what they'll do with that, Shaggy, is they'll just put a new lid on it. So it may be that it definitely kind of makes it look like a two-tone lighter. I've had some of those before where the case was much more worn than the new lid that they put on it. Those weren't repairs that I sent for, but lighters that I acquired that, you know, I realized after I acquired them they'd been repaired. And I've had my hands on enough over the years. They used to have little colored dots on them. And you can see that sometimes in listings. They would have these colored dots. Maybe that was before they started using the barcode system that they put on all their repairs now. But there were also sometimes markings inside the lid. And then you can usually, another not so telltale sign is the weld tack marks on the outside of the hinge. Take it easy, man. We're glad that you joined us, and hope that we'll see you again in the future. Don't have too much fun out there mowing. That's the kind of chore that I like to get over with quick. But like I said, in my current situation, I don't have a yard to mow, so I'm not complaining about it. I hadn't thought about mowing a yard since my Uncle Paul passed back in 2018, because I was mowing his yard for him at the time. My only experience with a zero-turn mower Anybody seen any interesting eBay auctions lately? Anything that you have witnessed that you know you're not going to buy, you don't need to keep a secret, that you'd like to share with the rest of us? What's up, Keith? Yeah, I used to live out in the southeastern Oklahoma County. It's actually where I grew up out at if you're an Okie, if you're especially from around Oklahoma City, you'll know when I say Southeast 74th and Anderson Road. Most people are familiar with that because there's major highways that intersect close to that. But that's where I grew up. I went to Carl Albert High School in Midwest City, which is a Midwest City school, but living out there, that was actually Oklahoma City limits. And so we owned 5 acres, but we didn't mow it all. And then there was a short period after my wife and I got married that we moved to Ada so that I could get a career job at the U.S. Postal Service. And when we moved back, we moved it back into that house, which my parents shortly moved out of, and they moved to town. So I lived there from the time I was about 11 years old until, 2005, so 34 years old at that time. But out there on that piece of property, mowing was a chore, and there was enough of it that we didn't ride it all, and we didn't have a zero turn. You can do it a little bit faster with a mower like that, but 2.5 acres is a good amount of mowing. It's more than I want to do for sure. Yeah, see, if you got that zero turn, and I don't know, those old deck mowers, the way that well, and I guess if you let it get too high, you can have the same problem with the zero turns. But that zero turn that I used out at my uncle's place, man, that's a little bit more fun. You can kind of make a game out of that. But it's still mowing, and it's not bad weather out there right now. But the majority of mowing takes place in heat. I like to stay out of the heat. Yeah, I guess if you break it up right, and if you got a schedule, maybe it's not too bad, Keith. Maybe if you got kids or a wife to help you, maybe that's not too bad. When I was growing up, my dad, of course, did plenty of mowing, and then my brother and I, which we're not quite a year apart, so we're pretty close in age. We were both always, or at least at a young age, ready to get out there and mow. And then, well, I don't know, if you talk to my brother, he acts like I never mowed when we were teenagers. But I remember mowing plenty, and my dad wasn't exactly the kind to let either one of us get away with much. Wow. So I guess you're not worried about mowing today then, huh, Keith? still have snow. That's definitely a little bit of a difference from where we're at here in Oklahoma City right now, because it feels like springtime is here. I think you could put the jackets up. We've had some cool nights. There was one night, I think last Friday, that almost got down to freezing, but most of them now are in the 50s. And I think all the highs for the next couple weeks are looking like the 70s and 80s. You wish you could mow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. We were just talking last night, Keith. This winter has really not been bad around here, and we've had some here lately that were just, the last couple were brutal cold, and I really, really dreaded them. I mean, I just really prefer the summertime. The older I get, the more comfortable it is in the summer. It's not even close. But this winter, the weather wasn't quite so bad, and I was a little bit better prepared. I've lived most of my life as not a obese person or fat person necessarily. I mean, some of that time I was definitely overweight, but definitely, for 5'8", I've been at times in my life up over 235 pounds. And with all the life changes and health changes that happened to me here over the last 6 or 7 years, quitting drinking, I think it kind of ruined my stomach for a period of time. Not that quitting drinking did that so much as the abuse that I put on myself with the drinking. I completely lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? But now I'm down around, I mean, it's like a struggle to stay up over 140 pounds. And I think maybe I finally kind of regulated to where I'm sort of comfortable at the 140, 145. But I'm also more prepared and able to stay warm. When you carry around plenty of insulation, then it's no big deal to walk through cold temperatures, on the way from the car to work, or work back to the car, or the car to my mother's house, or wherever. But yeah, once I lost all that weight, I just couldn't deal with it. So anyway, I've learned now I wore long johns most of this winter and was much more comfortable. But like I said, it also wasn't that bad of a winter. So I'm thankful either way. Oh man, it gets cold in Oklahoma. Yeah, it's I mean, we know all about 110-degree days in the summer, but we see snow most winters, and the last few, not only did we see snow, but ice storms, like historic ice storms, multiple times. But this summer or this winter, we had a couple of snows, but they were light, gone quickly, and maybe another incident with ice or two, but nothing major at all. So it takes away a little bit of the fun because, just for the sake of kids, and you like to. I know when I was a kid, we looked forward to the snow. That was a major deal. But yeah, maybe we got one snow that stayed for longer than just overnight, but I wouldn't even swear by that. Oh, well, yeah, central Minnesota. But you say you're going to be in the high 70s today? I believe that's about what we're going to be here. Is was trying to look at the forecast and I can't pull it up on that device. Anyway, yeah, the last time I looked, I think maybe 72, 75, something like that here today. So pretty crazy that we would have the same temperatures. I'm sure that I don't think I would want any part of Minnesota. You do any ice fishing, Keith? No, you cannot drive trucks on lakes in Oklahoma. Definitely not. Uh, yeah, if we're below freezing for a week at a time, that's a lot. But like I said, in the last few years, that has happened. There have been multiple times where we would be below freezing for a couple of weeks at a time. But no, I see. I see the North Canadian freeze over in spots at times, and I've seen ponds and other things freeze over. But I haven't seen anything freeze over in Oklahoma to the extent that I would drive over it. Is there a reason you don't ice fish anymore, or is it just opportunity, lack of interest? I always wondered about that, cutting that hole in. It does seem like there would be a little bit of a. You would definitely not want to get out there on it too soon. And it seems like if you didn't know what you were doing, cutting that hole might fracture the ice and. But I'm completely ignorant. I just know what I've seen about ice fishing on television, from the movies, and shows like Shameless. Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. What the kids are involved in can definitely influence what the adults are involved in. My grandson plays basketball, so the winter every Saturday. The last couple of years it had been Saturday mornings, but now I guess it's pretty much by age. The older ones play earlier in the day, or the younger ones play earlier in the day, and the older ones play later. Because all his games this year were later. But yeah, we spent the last few winters on Saturdays going to my grandson's basketball games. When my kids were younger, I was working back then, so it was a little bit different. I wasn't always able to make it to things, but when my son was in high school, definitely went to his football games on Friday nights, and my daughter ran cross country, and most of those were during the day, so I didn't get to go to a lot of those because of work. But I did make it to some of her cross country meets and track meets. Track meets were a little bit more. Uh, Most of them were out after school, it seemed like. But those weird hours, they worked off. They worked better for me at certain times when my son was younger and my daughter was younger, and they're a few years apart. But the fact that I was working nights or overnights, I was always able to go to the awards assemblies and stuff like that. And like in grade school, the sports are usually right after school, so. Yeah, they. I don't. I really kind of have a problem. Zippo Daily Fix. Hello, by the way. I really kind of have a problem with how young they start some of these kids playing football. I wonder just if I had it to go back and do over again, when you see the occurrence of CTE in all these NFL players. I think practically every one of them that they've tested that donated their brain has had it. And I mean, if it's that prevalent at that level, I definitely had concussions as a high school football player, probably did as a junior high player as well. But they didn't let us start playing until we were in fourth grade. They had, these, they called it Viking football when I was a kid. It was like local non-school leagues where they'd start them at 5 years old. Man, at that point, the kids can't even hold up a helmet, let alone, control what they're doing with it. And I know they're not going that fast, but still, I would prefer that. But wrestling is the same. I would have some concerns with that too, simply because of the culture and how they end up pulling weight and all that. I'm not sure that it's a healthy mindset in that whole environment. But wrestling it's a sport that a lot of professional athletes that aren't, don't play professionally as a wrestler, football players, well, specifically football players that I can think of. Um, Kelly Gregg played at OU and for the Baltimore Ravens. He was a wrestler. I think Ray Lewis was a wrestler. There are a lot of NFL players, especially, that were wrestlers. But like I said, some of that culture of pulling weight and all that seems a bit much. I can remember in junior high, my brother was a wrestler, and I had plenty of my friends that were wrestlers too. It's I don't know, sort of a brutal mindset. So your 7-year-old grandson is going to be playing football. Yeah, I think that's a little bit young. Fourth grade, what are you in fourth grade? You're about 9. Even that may be a little young. And I don't know if if I had it to go back and do over again, if I could go back and have a conversation with myself in junior high school, just because of what was important to me at the time. And for one thing, it was something I was good at, and I wasn't good at a lot of things. wasn't good at hardly anything in school. But football was something that, it was a productive way for me to spend my time. It led me to lifting weights and several healthy habits. But like I said, the risk involved and, what effect those concussions might have later, and the times that I can remember where, I hit somebody so hard that I couldn't see straight for 20 minutes. Or, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember myself actually being knocked out on the field that I can recall, which obviously, if it had happened to me, I probably wouldn't recall it exactly. I would be relying on other people telling me what had happened. And I have been knocked out another time or two, so I know what that feels like. But I had plenty of friends that were knocked out cold. My brother, multiple times, knocked out on the field, being out on his feet, had no idea where he was. Yeah, well, I hope the best for your grandson, and I hope it's good for him and enjoyable, and the team aspect and the camaraderie that I developed with those guys in junior high and high school. It's something that it's hard to really explain how much something like that can mean, and friendships and connections that you make at such a young age can literally last through your lifetime. So, yeah, I hope that it's a good experience for your grandson. But I do worry about him starting so young and, the concussions. I think it's just a matter of time before the NFL. I mean, they've changed the game so much, the way that they tackle and are allowed to hit, and we've all just gotten used to it. But it doesn't seem like it has really, we've still seen scary things happen on the field with concussions, with Tua this past year. having multiple concussions. There's always an issue going on with concussions. So I just don't see a way that the NFL is really going to be able to last long term. But I could be wrong about that. I know there's a lot of money involved in it. And when you say, when you're talking about midget wrestling, are you talking about like at a bar, Keith? I can remember them having small people on the, like on the Mid South or NWA. Can't remember all. There was another one that was came out of Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas, with the Von Erichs. I don't remember what that one was called. Yeah, that Junior Seau thing is sad. ZDF, um, and not it's not all that uncommon. There are other incidents of former players that you look at some of the things that happened after they were done, and it's just incredibly sad. Yeah, I think as far as the wrestling goes, ZDF, the it's not the wrestling itself that concerns me as much as the attitude that might be instilled at such a young age. There's just no way that pulling weight like that is. Um, there's just no way that can be healthy. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but you take light people already, and normally the people that are pulling weight, they're not. It's not because somebody's overweight. It's because they need them to wrestle at a different weight. Yeah, and that's smart, Keith. I get that. I get that for sure. Not letting him. But like I said, I think you may, depending on the hierarchy, the coaching situation that you find him being brought up in. But again, you're a smart guy. You can influence your grandson. But like I said, that's the thing that concerns me. Yeah, I never really thought that much about concussions with wrestling, but I guess that's true. You see the damage with the cauliflower ear, and that's a real thing. It's, just look at any of the Smith brothers that wrestled at Oklahoma State. It's man, I don't know how it. I don't know if that happens even with headgear, but I've seen plenty of wrestlers that those ears are inflamed and they don't even look like ears anymore. When you say they hit hard in junior high and senior high, are you talking about football, Keith, or wrestling? Where did the AWA wrestling come out of, Keith? You know where they wrestled at? When I was a kid, we used to have the Mid South, which it would happen. They would record those. I believe it was like here in like a circuit around Oklahoma, uh, Kansas, Missouri. I don't know, maybe even Arkansas, something like that. Because a lot of times it would be filmed out of Oklahoma City, but other times it would be in Kansas City or something. And then we had it was the Southwest something that mainly had the Von Erichs, but they also, and the Mid South and the one that took place at Reunion Arena in Dallas, the Southwest something, they had, they shared some of the same wrestlers. You'd see the Junkyard Dog on both of them. You'd see Kamala and the missing link on both of them. But then there were others that seemed to kind of stick, like the Von Erichs. I never saw the Von Erichs on Mid South. And there were certain wrestlers on the Mid South that I never saw down on the Southwest. See, that just seems, if you don't get cauliflower ear when you wear the headgear, that just seems like a knuckleheaded thing that so many of them are running around out there with the cauliflower ear. And not only that, but I can imagine, I mean, the way that that looks inflamed, I would, just knowing how my joints and parts of my body feel after years of use, I can imagine there's some pain involved in that as well. Okay, so the AWA was on in Minneapolis, and you mentioned earlier, where did that go? You said it had the Crusher, Mad Dog, Baron von Raschke, and sometimes midgets. I don't remember any of those names, so that must have been a completely different thing from what we had here with the Mid South. We had I think Andre the Giant was on Mid South, but I may be wrong. It was when I was a young child. I would say I kind of became aware of wrestling when I was in about the 6th grade, when we moved out to southeastern Oklahoma County. And like I said, the Mid-South and the Southwest one that took place in Reunion Arena in Dallas, we watched those. The Dallas one came on in the afternoon on Saturdays, like at 1 o'clock. And the Mid-South came on like at 6 o'clock after the roller derby. But then when I became, I don't know, it was like that up until my teenage years. At some point when I was in probably junior high, then we started getting, what did they call it? The WWF. What is now the WWE, Vince McMahon and all that. And then you started seeing some of these guys from the Mid-South show up there on the WWF. I don't remember whether the Von Erichs ever made it to the WWF or not. But yeah, I guess there used to be all these little, Jesse the Body Ventura. I think I knew Jesse the Body from the WWF. I don't think Jesse was on the Mid-South. But that definitely makes Jesse from Minnesota, right? But yeah, I guess there used to be all these sort of regional wrestling promoters. And we had, well, there was what was his name? My dad used to talk about an OU wrestler that was a professional wrestler, Danny something. But then later on, when I was a kid, we had Dr. Death Steve Williams, who was a defensive lineman, a nose tackle for the OU Sooner football team. And when I was in 6th grade at Barnes Elementary, our coach, Mr. Richardson, who was as fine a human being to be a coach and physical education teacher for young boys as I ever met. He was a very kind man who did a lot for a lot of kids. And anyway, he took us down there after practice. Well, I think it was actually when our season was over. And we met all these players, got their autographs and everything. Steve Williams was one of them. He, I believe, died of cancer several years ago. But there are connections. Is it Bill Ross? I can't remember. I think his name's Bill Ross, another big OU fan who was a wrestling promoter back in the day. So there's a lot of local connections to professional wrestling here in Oklahoma. WCW. Do you know what that stands? Are you talking about the Von Erichs were WCW? That doesn't sound familiar to me. But like I said, I was only really aware back then of the Mid South and whatever that one in Dallas was called until, like I said, a little bit later in my teens when the WWF started being broadcast on Sundays. Yeah, we were talking about the Von Erichs a while back, Keith, and I seemed like I'd heard when I was growing up that they weren't, most of them weren't Von Erichs, but the article that I read on Wikipedia a while back, I think actually all of Fritz Von Erich's sons that wrestled were his actual sons, according to that article. But yeah, several of them met untimely endings. I know there's people that think the family's cursed and stuff like that. So, and I'm not sure which of them are actually still alive. I remember Kerry, Kevin. I could see both of them, but seemed like there was another one with a K name, another younger one maybe. But I think there were actually like at least 6 or 7 sons altogether. Suicides, yeah, really sad. I don't know what that, I know some of that stuff runs in families, but there may have also, Kerry Von Erich certainly looked like there was probably some anabolic steroid use that had gone on. That dude was jacked. Those biceps were incredible. See if our table lighter will light up any better now. So yeah, it looks like we finally got it saturated well enough with fuel and got enough fuel up there to the wick. We'll just see if that lasts all week or if it runs out before we meet here again next Tuesday. And I don't know, even though it didn't leak out when I put that last bit of fuel in there, some of those times it's acting like it's a little bit vapor locked. Yeah, it is a little bit vapor locked. So. Anyway, that's a really cool lighter. I like that one. It was a fun project to find that lighter without a base and make one for it. I should have videoed that. It felt more like a arts and crafts project than repairing a lighter. But the next time I do it, I will repair it. I will video it because it has held up so well and looks so good. But you can trim up the felt once you've got it all on there just by running your scissors along the edge of the base. But that is a cardboard, just a cardboard cutout that the felt is glued to, and then that is, I think I glued it to the cardboard, but then the cardboard is being held to the base of the lighter with double-sided tape. No, Keith, I haven't bought anything. I'm constantly looking for bargains on eBay, and it is still toward the first of the month. I still have a little bit of money I could spend on a lighter if I find something that I value enough for the price, but I've got a couple of bids out right now, but nothing major. But yeah, I'm always looking. But it'd be nice to have more money to where I could look more earnestly and like feel like I was losing out if I didn't bid. Where most of the time right now I just don't have much money. And I know that's first world problems. There's plenty of other people out there that, I'm not worrying about getting my bills paid. All my bills are paid. So just don't have a lot of disposable income every month. But I also have, I don't know, 50 to 75 lighters sitting around. So it's not like I'm completely without lighters to mess around with. I have done most of the major projects that I can do. I do need to take apart that Ronson lighter case. So I'll probably get on that soon. Been kind of taking a break from the videos and prioritizing the work that I do on the website, which if you guys haven't been over there lately, you might get over there and check it out. The last 3 articles that I wrote were not the typical review or repair type articles, but well, last Monday was a poem, and then this past Thursday and yesterday were both short stories. So what's up, Dylan? Oobla doobla. Yes, Keith, that is coffee in my cup. And yes, I do put a lot of cream in it. We talked about that last week. I use heavy whipping cream. Milk, like almond milk, doesn't do much. It takes a lot of it to really cut into the blackness of the coffee. Doesn't take a lot with heavy whipping cream. And those are really my only options because, there might be some other alternative options out there, but there's just too much sugar in regular cow's milk. And half and half has cow's milk in it, so it's got sugar content. And I don't consume sugar, so. And the heavy whipping cream really does provide a real rich flavor. And I use a stevia sweetener with it, so anyway. Maybe a little bit more like hot chocolate sometimes, but I don't have any cocoa in it. But I do put some cinnamon in there. What's up, Bill? Glad that you have joined us. Yeah, I understand that not everybody has the ability just to sit around and talk about lighters in the middle of the day. That there are plenty of you guys that still have jobs. I get it. Hopefully one of these days, everybody will be retired and we can all still have the same kind of fun. I don't know. I've run into plenty of people over my working life who weren't all that interested in retiring, weren't interested in taking vacation. That was one thing I appreciated always about my old man. He never gave, there was no doubt in my mind. If he could be on vacation or if he could work, he was going on vacation. But I've worked with people that would let leave go back just because they didn't want to take time off, be with their wife or their family, or pass up overtime money. That's another big thing. You imagine letting leave go back because you didn't want to pass up overtime money? That's some mixed up priorities to me. But anyway, Bill, glad that you've joined us. Been a while. I know you've been here before. Keith, it is, or it can be expensive. Man, there were some times throughout these struggles we've had with the supply chain here lately that at just the local, the closest grocery store to me, which is Homeland, a couple of miles away, it was like $11 for a quart. That when I first started buying it, I was buying the can't remember if it was Great Value. I think it was Great Value at Walmart. I was paying $2.97 a quart, and now it's $4.97, and I'm thrilled to pay that. That's the price for a quart at Homeland or at Walmart or Winco. I don't buy it at Sam's because that heavy whipping cream out there is thinner when you pour it, so I didn't care that much for it. Felt like it had been watered down or something. But yeah, it is. It's definitely been expensive at times. But $5 a quart right now, I can handle that. And I use that heavy whipping cream in that almond cake that I make as well. Yeah, me too, Keith. It was sort of a crash landing of my life how I ended up here, retired. Um, and you know, made a mess of my life there for a while, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm glad to be able to do what I do. Well, that's awesome, Bill. It's great if you can enjoy your job. Well, you said love my job, so that's something that in the 25 years I spent at the U.S. Postal Service, I don't think I ever said I love my job, or even had that thought cross my mind. But that's always good, man. I am always happy to hear somebody who found a vocation that they enjoy and isn't just a toil, because mine was a toil. And you know, my job now, it doesn't pay very well, but it's not toil. I definitely enjoy what I do today. But you know, I don't I don't have a taskmaster over me. I don't have anybody. The only expectations um, that I have to fulfill are my own and what I feel like God has put on me. So um, that's a good place to be. Good that you've been able to take a vacation. I assumed you were on vacation. I don't remember if that was last week or the week before, but around the first of the month when I had a little bit of money, I was getting on to see what kind of auctions you might have going. And when I first looked, you didn't have anything going at all. The last time I looked, you had a good number going again. So whenever I got money in my pocket and you know, am able to buy something. I've got a handful of sellers that I love the way that you list those with the low starting and reasonable shipping and, you know, willing to combine shipping and all that. It's, I did things like that at first and, I don't know. I think you could probably make more money at times listing them another way. But there's a trade-off too, you know. I've got stuff that sits for years before it finally sells. But the way that you list them is certainly beneficial to collectors, especially collectors like me who don't have a lot of money. Yeah, you make sure and do that, Dylan. It's been a while. We've had an incident or two, but it's been months since we had a anybody hit us with a spam link or anything like that. Yeah, well, that's good to hear that it's warming up in Cleveland. Uh, Keith was just talking about how it was going to be in the high 70s today in Minnesota, and I think we're going to be close here in Oklahoma City. Spring is definitely here, and maybe we'll need the jacket here and there, but I even ran to the gas station last night in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and wasn't even worried about being caught in the rain without a jacket or anything. It's just crazy how the cold weather affects me so much more drastically. Um, and like I said, I don't know if it's the older age or the lower weight that I'm carrying, but I am ready for the warmer weather. Oh, you can post that link all you want, Jeremy. I don't know that anybody will click on it. But I don't think you posting that link, at least we know you. When somebody shows up that we've never met before and starts throwing links at it, it's pretty obvious pretty quick what the intentions are. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, you don't want people causing trouble. And I don't think that link is any danger whatsoever unless somebody clicks on it. But, you know, somebody could click on it on accident. It happens. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there about how you list, Bill. Um, no doubt from my standpoint, the way that I entered the hobby, I came in as a seller. And, you know, I may not make a lot of money, I may not have a lot of listings, but what those lighters sell for make a real difference in my life and what I'm able to spend in any given month above and beyond the small retirement that I get paid. So we got a little bit different. We come from a little bit different standpoint as far as that goes. But as far as the eBay algorithm pushing those items, I got no doubt about that. Just like with my listings that have set for months and years that don't even have anybody watching them, I get constant right there on those listings. It's telling me every time I look at them, it's wanting me to lower the price. So yeah, eBay doesn't like stuff sitting around for long. So you're right. That stuff that gets a lot of attention, that's what they want. So that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, I agree with that. The more you have, the more you're going to want to keep. And I don't know about you, but the ones that I keep, man, I'm having a hard time even justifying. I've got that Bob Dylan tour merchandise lighter, which is brand new. It's never been used, never been fueled. I don't think I had to dig the flint out of it. I can't remember, but anyway around it, it's never been used. But I don't know. I have a hard time justifying even keeping lighters like that in my collection if I'm never actually going to light it up. But you know, I hang on to things um, for a while sometimes just because I can get some content out of it. I can put it in a video or two before I get rid of it. Um, but yeah, I commend you for the way you're doing it. And yeah, that's the thing too, is you're getting rid of stuff quicker. You're not having to hang on to it for a long time. But like I said, I love watching those kind of listings. I don't think I've ever bought anything from you on eBay, but it's just a matter of time. Sooner or later, you list too much good stuff that starts low. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's a seller um, named Lightersaurus, Lighthersaurus, and I have bought so many lighters from that guy over the last 6 or 7 years. And when I first started buying from him, he started everything at 99 cents and like $2.99 shipping, and he's gone up on shipping, you know, here and there, and to the point now that I mean, it used to you could get a lot if you just bought one lighter for him, you might be able to get that for around $5. Now with the shipping he charges, you're not going to get anything for under, I don't know, $10 or $12 because he's got the shipping on there now, like at $5.99 or maybe even $6.99. But anyway, I bought a ton of lighters from that guy, and I would bid on, I might be bidding on 10 of his listings at a time, and then end up winning 3 or 4 of them. And he was always glad to. Well, I shouldn't say glad. He seemed to. I only communicated with the guy one time through eBay message, and he didn't seem like a very friendly fella. But I think there may be a language barrier there. But either way, like I said, great seller. Not the not the greatest packager, protector of the items that he's selling. He basically just wraps them up in a paper towel, which sometimes that's enough to keep it separated. Sometimes it's not. I don't know. But I'd buy junk. I buy junk lighters for the most part. Even the expensive stuff that I've sold has pretty much all been bought. It's unidentified groups that, just a gem laying there in a pile of nondescript lighters. You have to have an Zippo Daily Fix says that in Ohio they just passed a law that if you sell auction type lighter listings on eBay, you have to have an auctioneer's license. That seems crazy to me. You're letting somebody else handle the auction and they want you to have the license? That doesn't seem right. It seems like typical government interference. Well, yeah. I haven't done them any in I don't know, a month or two. Maybe it was back at Christmas time, actually. I can't remember now. And I've still got several of the lighters that Gavin Lannon sent to me for those purposes that I'm going to list in those HDSA 100% for charity auctions. But I start those at a penny and free shipping. Which that would, like I said, I haven't even done it in a while now, but that would bother me if I couldn't do that anymore. I like being able to do that. I just had my priorities elsewhere, but so I hope that that doesn't become the norm, Jeremy. Yeah, Bill, I saw that you said you had the opportunity to buy a bartender the other day. I hadn't seen a post yet where you were showing that off, but that is uh, that is crazy. I'd seen the numbers you quote there: 100 Zippos, 250 Ronson, and 50 others. I'd seen you uh, say those numbers: 100 Zippos and over 200 Ronsons at another time. I didn't realize you had so many Ronsons. So I guess you really are a Ronson collector. You just dabble in the Zippos, huh? ZDF, I don't remember us talking about it before, or if I've looked it up. Do you have, what is your seller? What is your username, ZDF? I want to make sure that I'm following you. That's hilarious. That's a typical state law type thing right there, too. Some local politician getting burned on some coins and decides that everybody needs to have an auctioneer's license. State legislator that probably doesn't have any idea what goes into the process, but is affecting the way that the process takes place. Yeah, no reason to shut up about the politicians. I'm a registered independent in the state of Oklahoma. I spent the vast majority of my life as a Republican. Conservative, I'm probably more conservative than most Republicans. But just the entire environment right now, I'm sick of it. Um, I left the Republican Party because of Trump, and but the polarization on both sides, it's just unbelievable. And neither side, at least the voters on either side, don't seem to have any clue that they're just feeding into what these politicians have created. All it would take is a solid third of the population to be willing to vote third party or independent, and you could make some real change quick. If you started having independent and third party candidates regularly drawing a third of the vote, well, then there would be something to pay attention to. But people are convinced that they got to vote for one of those two parties. It's crazy. Cool. Thank you, ZDF and Dylan. I'm going to look that up and make sure that I'm following you. That's one thing I like about the Facebook lighter groups is you become familiar with these different um, people who are selling lighters or collectors. I guess really the sellers, because like that's how I became familiar with Bill, and following his listings was from those Facebook lighter groups, seeing the things that he's posting in the Deal or No Deal or Zippo Addicts, other places, but also a guy named Rob Johnson and Rob Giaretta. There are others as well. It's just the two that come right to mind. Two big Zippo guys that have, at times, Rob Giaretta is probably, I mean, his collection may be better than anybody. Some of the stuff he posts is just crazy. But Rob Johnson has had plenty of nice Zippos as well, but I believe he sold his entire collection. I think that he's basically just a seller at this point. Maybe has a small collection. Which, that happens. You see people all the time talking, well, Jeremy just mentioned that he might sell his whole collection. So it happens. There's plenty of people that sell their whole collection and then, put together another one. Oh, I lost track of what I was doing here. Okay, you got several listings going right now. Awesome. And it looks like 132 items. You sell a lot of different things. Cool, cool, cool. I'll definitely keep an eye there. So, Jeremy, are you saying right now you're not allowed to list, because of the state that you're in, you're not allowed to list auctions unless you get an auctioneer's license? So you basically have to like enter that auctioneer's license into the eBay interface somehow before they'll let you do it? Yeah, there you go, Bill. That's exactly right. Um, and I'm not saying I'm not part of the problem too, because obviously I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, but it's not like I'm out there knocking on doors trying to convince people to vote third party or anything like that. I don't have the energy to. Um, I obviously don't have the energy to affect any kind of change, but I can promise you, just continuing to feed off what those two parties are feeding you is not going to help any of us. And like I said, the polarization on both sides just keeps getting worse and worse. Well, that's funny. Did we talk about this Seattle's World's Fair Space Needle Lighter last week, Jeremy? I remember we talked about it. I just don't know if I talked about it with you. That's something else that kind of drives me crazy. Is why these listings are shown twice. Maybe that's just something with my device. Yeah, that seems so dumb, man. And all because of the politician didn't like the way his transaction went for some coins. Take it easy, Bill. Glad that you were able to join us today. Hopefully, you can check in the future as well. I mentioned earlier that I think you were on with Jay Rowe last week, but I wasn't able to see that. I think he's deleting those lives when they're through. But anyway, glad to see you around. Hopefully, we'll see you some more in the future. So what you're saying then, Jeremy, is it's perfectly fine in Ohio to list with the buy it now, even if you're using best offer in conjunction with that. But you can't list auctions at all without the auctioneer's license. And by the way, do you know what you got to go through to get an auctioneer's license? Is that a difficult process? Is it expensive? I've never had one of the Lady Bradford. I don't think I've ever had any Zippo table lighter. I have not had a Zippo table lighter. Had a lot of Ronson table lighters. I've had a few Penguin Cygnus table lighters. Had a lot of Japanese made in occupied Japan table lighters. Some Evans table lighters. But not a Zippo. But I have talked about that in the past. A lot of times with those Zippo table lighters that'll have a dirty old looking piece of felt on the bottom. I don't know, it's not real appealing to me. So I'm more likely to end up, my first Zippo table lighter is probably going to be something that doesn't have any felt, that then I can not feel bad about removing. If I don't have to remove the original felt, just putting new felt on there is not that big a deal. I might feel like I was devaluing the lighter by removing that original felt, if the lighter was worth much. And most of those Zippo table lighters are. You don't see Barcroft going for lower than $75 or so, and usually more than that. And I'm trying to remember, there was a Modern that sold last week that I was keeping an eye on that started relatively low. I don't know where it finished though. Let me look it up. Yeah, it ended up selling for $75, $74. Well, plus $10.65 shipping. So 84, almost $85 for a black enamel Modern table lighter. So yeah, somewhere between, looks like the bottom for any Zippo table lighter is probably going to be about 75 bucks or so. You can get into Ronson's and a lot of other brands a lot cheaper than that. Of course, those Ronson table lighters, man, they're everywhere. You know, Crowns and Queen Anne's, there's tons of them around. What do you mean you can list them? But once you hit a certain selling amount, okay, hold on. The article says $10,000, but once I read last month, the one you read last month said 2,000, so a bit conflicting. So like they'll only come after you once your auctions hit a certain, once your auctions end at a cumulative certain price, once you meet a threshold. Sounds like what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm telling you, I've got, I don't know how many Queen Anne's and what's the Crowns that I have, but there are still some others that I haven't been able to make a video for a decanter yet. Haven't had all the parts. I've had one or two of the light. I think I've just had the one lighter and it doesn't have a flint spring screw or screw. Um, anyway, there's some others like the Leona and I can't remember all the names, but there are definitely some that are more scarce than others, and still plenty of them that I would like to be able to handle and make videos on. But yeah, there's a lot more of them out there and a lot more affordable than the Zippo table ladders. Yeah, that's I mean, it's crazy, man. It's like adding a. It almost makes it to where you just want to let somebody else do it for you in that case. But I will say this, like we were saying in the conversation with Bill, I love the way he lists. As a buyer, I think it's awesome. But if you have the auction capability taken away and you have to list everything as a buy it now, I think in most cases you're going to end up making more money that way. Auctions are very unpredictable, and you just don't get as many eyes on something in a 5 to 10 day period of time where you're starting the price low that you can get on something by listing it a little higher, listing it a little above what you think it's worth, and then just letting people find it as they find it. The right person will find it. It's just a matter of how long you'll have to hold on to it before you get your price. Or, I sell plenty of stuff for full price. There's plenty of items that I list that they don't make an offer; they just pay the full price. But there's plenty of other stuff where they where somebody makes an offer and I accept it. The Town and Country Geese Zippo that I found in a group of, I think it was 5 Zippos, including two. Oh crap, I can't remember. What's the Zippo butane lighter, the big clunky one? Why can I not remember the name of that? Anyway, the Zippo Blue. There were 2 of those in there. The other 2, there were 3 regular Zippos. One was the 1949 or 50 Town and Country Geese. And the other 2 were in the group that I ended up sending to Zippo Fanatic 77. One of them, I think, was the one that had the military logo. I don't remember whether that was Air Force or Army. But yes, thank you, Jeremy. It was the blue. But I think I paid a couple $100 for that lot. And I knew that the Town and Country was the geese, that was a appealing lighter. I knew that it would bring way more than that. But I didn't know exactly how much, and I listed it for $999.99, and I think it was listed for maybe 3 weeks, but I don't even think it was that. I think it was a couple, and I got an offer for $789, and I didn't have a box or anything. So, you know, like I said, I accept I can't remember now the military unit, but I sold an ashtray a while back that I'd had in my store for a couple of years. One of the subscribers on YouTube had helped me identify the military emblem on it, and it was a brass ashtray with this enameled emblem in the middle. I listed it for a couple $100 and got an offer for $125 from a guy explaining to me his background and why he was researching that particular unit. And anyway, I was glad to sell it to him for that price. I'm more than happy to accept reasonable offers, and I do it all the time. Usually if you're, unless it's just something that I'm really, I've got a few things that I've turned off buy it now because I've got them as low as I'm willing to go. But if I've got a buy it now offer on it, I'm probably willing to accept, I don't know, 2/3 of that. Seldom ever will go down to half, but I'll meet you in the middle somewhere. Yeah, I've never had one of the blue 2. I've had, I think I've had 3 Zippo blues, and it's a neat concept. It's a interesting idea. The ones that I had worked okay, but it's just a clunky mechanism that, especially for my weak carpal tunnel ridden hands, is a little bit difficult to manipulate and maneuver. But I would be interested to have a blue 2. Sorry I missed you saying goodbye there, Dylan. I hope the rest of your day at work goes well. I hope we catch you next week. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe I hadn't heard about that eBay auction thing. I sure hope that doesn't. It sounds like that's just a knee-jerk reaction from somebody there in your particular state. I hope that trend doesn't continue. I like jet butanes. Obviously, I use the Jet Light, but these are smaller. That Zippo Blue is such a big lighter, and not only that, then you're trying to reach up here, and there's so much force that's required to strike it. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Every time I got those 2 at the same time, and I held on to them for a long time. Made a few videos on them before I sold them. And I just don't I don't sell butane lighters the same way I do. I'll guarantee any petrol lighter I sell. If it needs the wick changed or if something's wrong with it, you can send it back to me. I'll fix it or whatever. But with the butane, I'm not an expert on butane lighters. I don't know anything about butane lighters. I can tell you whether it works or not. I can't tell you anything about replacing O-rings or anything like that. So they're sold as is. So that's another reason why I tend to hold on to them and use them for a while before I finally get around to selling them. But you know, those blues bring good money. They'll bring at least $35 a piece. I think I ended up selling those two for together for, I don't know, maybe $65. What's up, ZF77? Glad that you have joined us. I talk about your live stream on here all the time, asking if any of the fellas that are present here have attended your stream lately. But I don't think you've had a stream in a week or two. At least I don't remember getting a notification lately. Yeah, you just missed Dylan, Mike. So yeah, you could have had a little reunion of the Zippo Mafia here. Yeah, I was just talking about finding that 1949 or 50 Town and Country Geese Zippo. I think that's the most expensive lighter I've ever sold. I've sold some others in that same neighborhood. $789. That's a pretty high price tag. But I bought that in a listing of 5 other lighters. They were all Zippos. 2 Zippo Blue, the Town and Country, and then 2 others. And I think that those 2 others were in that group that I ended up sending to you. I think one of them had a military emblem and a loose hinge. And I don't remember what the other one was. Maybe it was a brass Zippo. So you haven't been posting, I think you were posting every Sunday there for a while. Or maybe you said that the last time that I had been in one of your streams. And we got a few guys, the Professor's Garage, he hadn't joined us this week, but I know I've seen him in your stream. Azrael is one of our regulars. And I know I've seen him in your stream as well. It's kind of funny, though, the people that frequent yours that I've never seen here. And then there's been a couple others here that I ask about yours, and they say, no, yours is the only live stream I've ever been to. I assume that anybody who's watching mine has probably already watched yours as well. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I was just, when you say interesting content, I was just telling everybody last week that the last time, I still haven't finished. I got, I think, 2 more videos to finish that up, get everything in my collection in that series of videos. But when I made the video for the ashtrays in my collection, those videos, anytime I make a video for an ashtray, and I thought maybe that big group of ashtrays might get a little bit more attention, but no. People definitely are not as intrigued with ashtrays as they are lighters. But, you know, it's still good content. It just doesn't appeal to as broad of an audience, but who knows? Maybe it'll appeal to just the right person at just the right time. Yeah, I was posting, you know, I posted every day for, I think, pretty much a couple of years, and I'll get back to it. I'll get back to where I'm posting more regularly. Haven't posted anything in the last couple of weeks. But I have definitely on purpose prioritized my time a little bit to spend more time over on the website. And I got so many things, so many aspects of this entire operation, which I'm trying to keep going. But yeah, I'll get back to it sooner or later. Sooner or later, I'll have more lighters sitting around than I know what to do with, and coming up with good ideas for videos will be easy. But right now, I simply most days if I have time at the end of the day, I'll sit down and make a video. I've been so busy with what I do with the website and the different uh, Facebook group, Facebook page, all that kind of stuff that I literally haven't had time. And like you said, I'm sort of low on ideas as well. I've got that LIDA case that I need to work on. I've got a few. I've got a project that our friend Bill Calkins, who we were talking to earlier, he sent me. Oh, it's been months ago now, probably 6 months. That I made a video on taking that lighter and case apart, but I don't have the parts. But I do have some ideas. It's an interesting. Anyway, I got a few ideas. It's just none of them are easy. Sit down right now and let's just crank out a video kind of ideas. Yeah, I've tried so many different styles. I shot with the green screen there for a good while, but that definitely made editing a lot more difficult. I definitely think I've found my sweet spot as far as the style of video. There's times where I think it helps to have my face on the video, but in these individual lighter videos, show and tell, or even the repair videos, I don't think that. I think the star of that show are the lighters. Nobody cares whether my face is in those videos or not. If I'm talking about something personal, or the Huntington's disease aspect of the website, or um, even the issue of alcoholism, whatever, maybe some of those things. It's not like I don't ever plan to make a green screen video again, but definitely the ease of getting the video up has played a major role in what I'm trying to publish these days. But yeah, there were definitely videos back at the beginning that sound was difficult for me at first, and you know I wasn't all that concerned with it. To where now, yeah, I feel like there's certain aspects of the video that need to be up to a certain level. And I'm a little bit more particular about how I edit certain things. But yeah, I'm not stressing it. Like I said, I know where my priorities are at. I know what I'm trying to do, and it's just a matter of time. At some point, I'll have a pile of lighters sitting here again, and more time than I know what to do with, and we'll get to publishing videos again. You say you quit editing your videos altogether? Yeah, I I make too many mistakes in my narration to be able to do that. That's one of the things I'm kind of particular about. But I've gotten to where I can, the only mistakes that are really going to affect me are mistakes in my narration, me misspeaking a word or whatever. Where with the green screen, man, it was like 3 cuts every time. So 6 cuts for me to take out a segment of both videos and the sound, and it was just I mean, I'm fairly proficient at it. I got better at it, but it's just, it just takes more time. That's all. Well, that was kind of my thinking initially when I tried that ZF-77, was that I would get more engagement, but I don't know that I found that was true. I don't know that it hurt. Maybe my ashtray videos would get a little bit better views if my face was on them, but it doesn't really seem to make a difference with the lighter videos. Once I quit making really just out of convenience of where I was able to shoot the video, quit making the green screen videos, and the views didn't go down, well, then that made me a lot more comfortable with just, like I said, I think the star of the show are the lighters. Nobody really cares that much about me, and especially about seeing me. Yeah, I have used earbuds as a mic in the past. I had a mic that worked pretty good, but it was pretty sensitive as to where you put it. And then it crapped out on me in the middle of a live stream one week, so I replaced it. And this mic I haven't really, once I adjusted it, it's definitely a little bit different than the other one, but I've been happy, satisfied with the sound that I've gotten out of this cheap mic. I haven't spent any more than maybe $30 on any of the mics that I've had. So you like the unedited way, huh, Keith? Man, there's just sometimes that, well, obviously, if I would get used to shooting it that way, and when I make a mistake, rather than stop and restating it, just move on, I could figure that out. But I can take a 8 or 9 minute video, open it up in iMovie with the intro. I've got a 15-second intro and a 4-second outro. So sandwich those around the clip, and I can have that edited, if I've only made a few mistakes. Just your typical video. Nothing major, not like I, just left the camera unattended for a while in the middle of it or anything like that. I can typically edit that video in not more than, if it's an 8 or 9 minute video, then I can probably get that edited in 10 or 11 minutes. So it's not too bad. Definitely way less editing than what I was doing with the green screen stuff. That really got to be a pain in the butt. And like I said, I'm glad I know how to do it. I'll use it in the future for sure. But to use it on a regular basis was a burden. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I hope that you're busy with good things there, Mike. Um, I hope that you're busy with things that you want to be busy with. But if you're able to, I hope that you're able to, post or check in with a live stream. That's one reason why I had a few weeks there where I couldn't do the live stream for various reasons. And there's always the possibility if I get a call that I need to babysit, then that could cancel me on any given Tuesday for sure. But I haven't been babysitting, especially. I think I did about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, and it hadn't come up on a Tuesday recently, but I do like checking in with everybody. At least this way, you kind of keep in touch, keep in contact with people that you might otherwise have been meeting in the comment sections of the videos that you're not publishing. And that's the cool thing about publishing every day the way that I did. Um, you get a certain following that, and I know a lot of people use YouTube that way to where they watch YouTube on a daily basis, just like, people sit down and, or used to sit down and watch the news. Some people sit down and watch the things they're interested in on YouTube. So, I do think there's a benefit there. I definitely want to get back to where I'm posting more often. Like I said, I just got some other priorities right at the moment. Well, you won't be disappointed with the grandpa part, man. I've uh, I've got three of them, ranging from 9 months to 10 years old, and they're a blessing. They're awesome, and I enjoy all the time that I do get to spend. And that's another reason we were talking about retirement earlier. That's another reason that I'm glad for the situation that I'm currently in, so that I can be of use to my kids if they need me, and be around my grandkids. I mean, that's the most important thing to me. They've all got great parents, but I would like to be able to have just as much influence on them as I can. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there, man. When your kids start having kids, it's probably time for you to consider hanging it up. You probably got enough if they're producing kids of their own. I know you're a little bit younger than I am, but yeah, well, circumstances. It's been a long time since I considered having any more kids of my own. But love the grandkids, man. It's awesome. It's amazing, just amazing. Yeah, you're still a relatively young man then, 38 years old. Yeah, we were talking about something earlier, and I mentioned what was that I was talking about that happened in 2005? That was when I was 34. Oh, that's when I moved out of uh, southeastern Oklahoma County that I'd lived since I was 11 years old. Um, yeah, I'll turn 52 in about a week. Actually, a week a week from yesterday. So the next time we meet here in the live stream, I will be I'll be 52 years old. Yeah, man, that's one thing, Keith, that I have not had to worry about. Um, it's hard to get two parents that agree exactly on everything about raising a kid. So it doesn't bother me. I'm able to keep my mouth shut with both my kids and their significant others, and let them raise those kids exactly how they see fit. And I'm happy to let them do that. But they're both, well, they're all really good parents. anyway, not just my kids, but their spouses. And they're all really good kids too. So, but I know what you're saying. Um, like I said, it's you know, that's one thing that, as long as you're not endangering the kids, I think you got the right to raise your kids however you want. So, I didn't like people criticizing me in the way I raised my children, and I certainly had a detractor or two. But that just made me, like I said, that's your kid. You raise them how you want. Well, um, my brother used to like to say that it was easy. That I was born, or that I was graced with good kids. That not everybody had good kids. But there's some degree of truth to that too. My kids were definitely good natured and not a lot of trouble to me. But there's also that element that there's part of the way that you raised them that affects the way they turn out too. So I appreciate you saying that, Mike. I've made my share of mistakes over the years for sure, but they are great kids. Uh, I don't know if I'd say crazy. There've been some weird ones. They had that one that happened down in the southeastern part of the state at night, which is kind of strange. That's definitely weird. I'm been around a lot of tornadoes, a lot of storms in Oklahoma, and I don't remember. I remember one that happened about 10 or 11 at night a couple of years ago, just west of Oklahoma City here in El Reno. Um, that was kind of crazy, but you've seen that in other places like Mississippi and Louisiana where these things hit in the middle of the night. But it really does seem to be something to this thing of. It's telling me I got a low battery. There really is something to this thing of the tornado alley shifting, I think, because you get these severe storms that are happening, well, a few hundred miles east now. It doesn't seem like we get them with the same intensity that we were just a few years ago, Mike. Yeah, I get you. I understand exactly what you're saying, Keith. But I had to have a talk with my brother a couple of years ago because right in front of everybody at my mom's house, he wanted to criticize one of my kids about something, and man, it's not his place, it's not my place. Uh, they get to raise those kids how they want. I appreciate all you guys showing up today. ZF77, Zippo Daily Fix, Bill Calkins, Keith Farrier. Some of our regulars, Dylan DePie was here. We didn't see East Wadoon Flom. We didn't see Sean or Azriel or Naphtha or the Professor's Garage or Gnarly News, plenty of other Ron Hardcrackers and all those other names I might be forgetting. But I appreciate you guys that have been here. I've enjoyed the conversation, but gonna have to cut it short because my battery is about to die. So I will see you guys next week, 10 a.m. Vintage Coffee and Lighters Live. Until next time.